bus going to enter my lane or what? I'm a bit afraid. Welcome to sgCarMart Reviews. Today we have the Skoda Superb. Is it Skoda or Skoda? Skoda. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to review it and tell you guys more about it.
Okay.
Now, to most Singaporeans, a lot of them remember the Skoda Superb for mainly two things. The first generation Skoda Superb, of course, the first thing that they remember, came into Singapore as a taxi. And it was a very fast taxi, in fact. If you had a Skoda Superb taxi on your ass on the expressway, well, you better get your ass out of the way. And of course, speaking of asses, the second point of which Singaporeans remember the Skoda Superb most is the second generation Skoda Superb, which had a very strange ass. Partly because it was hiding a lot of space at the back. That is what the Skoda Superb is really known for. Now we do have the third generation. It is a very good looking car. Right here we do have the facelift. Now, if you look at this car carefully, you really can't tell the changes, but there are. If you look up front here, you do have a very different bumper and of course a very new design with integrated fog lamps, LED by the way. And of course, if you come to the back, this is of course the Laurin and Klement variant, which is a top spec trim of the Skoda Superb. So you do have this inscription over here to tell everyone that you've bought the top spec variant. This car also does come with a new 2-litre TSI engine, which we will talk about later on. Now the changes also continue towards the back. Now if you look right now, Skoda is spelled out in block letters. So for those guys who are very particular about pronunciation, well, it is very obvious, isn't it? This is a Skoda. That's right. And of course the changes include the headlights, or rather the tail lights over here, which come with dynamic turn indicators. Well, not much changes, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Skoda Superb is priced from $134,900 to this $149,900 Laurin and Klement variant. The 2-litre turbocharged engine produces 188 brake horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque. The 7-speed DSG transmission brings the Superb from 0 to 100 km per hour in 7.7 seconds. For more details on the Skoda Superb or any other car, head on to sgCarMart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. Now, for those of you who are more into the Skoda Superb will know that the second generation Skoda Superb had a very interesting boot. It had this thing called twin gate, which meant that you could open it as a liftback or in a normal sedan sort of way where the boot just opens up normally. But of course, this is the third generation. It is a liftback, but the space, 625 liters big. Yeah, of course, if you need more space, you can fold the seats flat, but really you don't have to. It passes the anti-trolley test and the luggage bag test. I mean, we are putting the luggage bag in a very weird way. We can put it, of course, flat and it will still pass. There's still more space. This, of course, is one of the good qualities of the Skoda Superb, and usually when people buy the Skoda Superb, it's because of the boot. Now, let's check out the second most important point of the Skoda Superb, which is the rear seats. Alright, rear seats. Of course, the front seat is set to my comfortable driving position, and I'm just under 1.8 meters tall. And look at the space. There's a lot of knee room, there's a lot of wiggle room, there's quite a bit of headroom also. It comes a little bit close, but still, it does very well. This is a very comfortable space, partly because of the space that is offered in the back of the Skoda Superb. Now, when it comes to amenities, of course, you do have climate control in the rear for the Laurin and Klement variant. The Ambition Plus just comes with vents in the rear, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. Of course, you won't have any USB ports, but you do have a 12-volt socket at the back for your passengers. And if you have kids, of course, you do have ISOFIX points for both seats at the back. Now, let's see how The middle seat fares. You do have a very big transmission tunnel. Well, it's not really a transmission tunnel because this car is front-wheel drive currently. But yes, it is a bit high, so it does get in the way. But still, when you're here, it is still very comfortable. Headroom is coming quite close, but it really doesn't matter. Honestly, this is a very nice space to be in. If it's 2 or 3 in the back, it will be very, very comfortable because of the amount of space that is on offer. Good stuff. This is superb. I know it's another unimaginative pun, but yes, just bear with me. We're going to the front seats. Now, there's a lot of smart features after all. Skoda's tag name is simply clever, like this umbrella compartment over here, although I pretty much prefer it to be at the back, so it's more like a Rolls Royce. But either way, let's talk about the front seats. Now, this is the Laurin and Klement variant, so you are constantly reminded that you're in the top spec variant. You have an inscription over here and on the 2 front seats. It is actually quite nice, if I'm honest. But this interior is a very usable interior, and to me that actually is very important. You do have an infotainment system which is 9.2 inches in size. It is very easy to use. It does come with gesture control, but because it's so easy to use, honestly, you won't really need to use it. It's, well, just hit into the buttons and you will know what's up. And other controls are easy to use. You do have actual air conditioning vents, and adding to the ease of use, of course, this does come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, speaking of the infotainment. Now, the most interesting thing about the Skoda Superb, of course, is that it does come with its own virtual cockpit. So, you do have different views if you want to change how your dials will look. It is quite nice. It is quite nice. When you talk about practicality, of course, you do have big cubby holes on the doors, but surprisingly, the spaces over here are quite small. You can put your drinks here, but there's not really a proper place to sort of put your phone. There isn't wireless charging, but you do have 2 USB ports, which both of them connect to the infotainment system for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay if you want to. Now, interestingly enough, this car does come with 2 cooled compartments. You have one here, which is very normal, usually it's there, but there's another one here. So if you have drinks to be cooled, it works out. But the most important point of the Skoda Superb, Laurin and Klement, are the ventilated seats. I'm pretty sure Julian can agree, this is very nice to have. I have them on. Honestly, it is the best feature in a car as of 2020. Good stuff. Now, let's find out how the Skoda Superb drives on the road. So how is the Skoda Superb like on the road? Well, first things first. The first thing that gets to you, of course, is how comfortable it is on the road. And it is a combination of 2 things mainly. The ride quality, which is very good, and also how easy it is to drive. So let's talk a little bit about ride quality. The Laurin and Klement variant does come with adaptive dampers, which you can control with the drive select button over here. You do have 3 settings: comfort, normal, and sport. I am in comfort. Honestly, if you drive a Skoda Superb, you should keep it in comfort because it just wafts around with no issues. You don't feel dips and undulations on the road. It just goes through it smooth as silk. It is quite impressive, this ride. Vibration and harshness levels are also kept well at bay. But if I were to mention one thing though, is that there's a bit of noise that does enter into the cabin. I have a feeling it's partly because of the low profile 40 profile tires that are fitted on the 19-inch wheels on the Laurin and Klement. But to be honest, those wheels actually look quite good, and it fills up the arches of the Skoda Superb quite well. So I can forgive the little bit of noise that comes with the factory fitted tires. The other thing, of course, is how easy it is to drive. First of all, the steering is very light. Even though it's light, it doesn't feel very loose. It still feels very connected. The feedback that is most important to the driver is still fed through the steering wheel. And it doesn't want to tramline too much, so you don't have to make constant adjustments when you're driving on the expressway. For example, you can change the weight of the steering wheel if you want to. You can have it heavier in sport, but honestly, just keep it in normal. It will do just fine. Also, adding to the whole ease of use of the Skoda Superb is that it's very easy to see out of. The windows are nice and big, so if you want to check your blind spots, it is quite easy. And adding on to blind spots, of course, you do have blind spot monitoring. Skoda calls it side assist. And I do like that you have a LED panel on the inside of the mirror, not on the mirror itself. So it's very easy to see when there's someone in your blind spot. And it's not very intrusive as you might think it will be, because you do have an LED panel facing you. But really, it's much better than having the indicator on the mirror itself. I think that's a good job well done.
Good job.
So let's talk about power. Now, earlier I did mention that the Skoda Superb now comes with a new 2-litre TSI engine. Some of you might be saying that the pre-facelift car did come with a 2-litre TSI engine option. You're not wrong, but this engine is new. It actually runs cleaner than the pre-facelift car's engine. So that makes the current Skoda Superb a VS neutral car. Previously, of course, Superb 2-litre TSI did come with a $10,000 surcharge. Now, the thing is, this 2-litre TSI engine actually replaces the 1.8 TSI engine, and it currently is the only engine option that will be available in Singapore. Now, when I say that it replaces the 1.8 litre TSI, the power output now makes sense, because this engine makes 188 brake horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque. It is much lesser than the previous 2-litre engine, but when you compare it to the 1.8 TSI, this has more torque. But if I were to compare the driving abilities of this 2-litre TSI to the pre-facelift 2-litre TSI, to be honest, this actually feels much livelier. Partly because this car does come with a 7-speed wet clutch DSG transmission. The ratios are much closer together, so at lower speeds, this car actually feels just as quick. In fact, in some areas, it feels much quicker. So I was quite delightfully surprised, if I must add, about this new engine. Of course, it is quite fuel efficient. I'm driving around doing about 12 kilometers per litre, which is quite impressive for a car this size. Well, not much complaints really. I do miss the snappiness of the 6-speed DSG transmission, but to be honest, you don't really need that much snappiness when it comes to the Skoda Superb, because all you want is a comfortable drive, and this car, this engine, this transmission provides that. So it is good. So, is it a will buy, a won't buy, or go try the Skoda Superb? Well, if you ask me, it is a will buy. The Skoda Superb is a very nice car. It is very well equipped, it rides very well, and at the same time, it is quite powerful, to be honest. It is also quite fuel efficient, so it really does the job of being a car quite well. And if you compare to your other competitors, its closest competitors, of course, is perhaps the Toyota Camry, for example, this provides a better drive. So to me, I enjoy driving, and if I need the space, of course, in the rear seats, which is quite impressive, as you saw earlier, I think this is a very good choice. If you need a big boot, need space, there's nothing else quite like the Skoda Superb at its price point. And of course, if you want to get the car a little bit cheaper, you can go for the Ambition trim. That car is just about $10,000 less or so, at about $141,000. To be honest, that is also a very good deal, because you get the same engine, you get the same space. You don't get this virtual cockpit. You get a smaller infotainment screen, but what I do like about the infotainment screen is that it does come with actual knobs to control your volume in the smaller infotainment display, and it does still come with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so you're not losing out in anything really. Skoda Superb, will buy, go check it out. Good stuff, this car, good stuff. So we have come to the end of our review of the Skoda Superb Laurin and Klement variant. What do you guys think? Would you prefer to pronounce Skoda as a Skoda or Skoda or Skoda? Well, leave your thoughts on the Skoda Superb in the comment box down below. And of course, if you want to see more reviews, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to sgCarMart. I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, goodbye.